Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cyclocross Social podcast. We are here with our third episode of the off-season Cyclocross Social podcast. Today we'll be talking about some cyclocross news, and with me here to do that at the moment are Twan and Issam.
Hey everybody.
Hello.
So today we'll be talking about some cyclocross news, 3 topics on our program today. We'll be starting with the rumors of Laurens Sweeck leaving Paul Sauze during the summer. Then we'll talk about a potential new location for the European Championship Cyclocross in 2023. And we'll end off with some speculation about the new World Cup calendar and mainly the 2 to be confirmed locations. But we'll start off with Sweeck and we'll start off with the facts there. Last week, in the 1st of March, the boss of Tormans, Jan Tormans, was in a Belgian TV program called Het Standpunt. He was talking there about his team, but he also said something interesting about Laurens Sweeck there. He said that he had had talks with Sweeck and Mette Penningen and was looking for a middle way for Sweeck to leave Tormans, Paul Sauze that is, and join Tormans for next season. He was saying, I hope that we can compete for more wins this way and that we will get some more exposure and it's also more interesting for the fans. What do we make out of this?
Yeah, I think that this is something that we were looking forward a bit that there was going to happen something in the transfers, or at least that the rumors are coming up. We saw this happening a little bit because obviously there was some frustration in the team, mostly with Laurens Sweeck and Eli Iserbyt. It wasn't the smoothest relationship, and you could see here and there that there were some issues, especially chasing each other and not really helping each other in a way. And I think that is mostly due to the position of Eli Iserbyt in Paul Sauze. And I think Tormans shown themselves very well in the last couple of races, and I think they know that if they have a Laurens Sweeck with them, that they're actually going to be a pretty strong team.
Yeah, I think during the season we have highlighted this frustration and, bad connection between the two riders, Eli Iserbyt and Laurens Sweeck. And Paul Sauze really does feel like the team of Eli Iserbyt, and it really feels like Sweeck is the one that is going to leave. So this story, I'm quite surprised that it is Tormans and that they're actually getting in there whilst he still has a running contract. But I'm not surprised that Laurens Sweeck is looking for a way out.
Well, as said, Tormans, boss Jan Tormans, was talking in that TV program on Belgian TV. He also said something like, I think it would also be more interesting for the spectator, maybe trying to have somebody else looking in and thinking, there is a point in that. Maybe if I sponsor the team, they can get Sweeck, they will get more exposure, we will compete for more victories, we will gain more attention, and with that money that comes in, they could maybe pay the salary or pay the leave of Sweeck at Tormans. That's just speculation, but what do you guys think about that?
I think money is going to be a very important part of this transfer because the way Mette Penningen is talking about the contract of Sweeck that is going till 2022, I mean, he is saying that he wants him to be there, and probably with Mette Penningen, if you bring some money on the table, everything is possible. But I definitely think that money is going to play a big role, and that they have to pay something extra on top of it, or maybe pay his salary what he's going to get from Paul Sauze for next year. It's going to be difficult in any way or shape. It's the transfer is going to be a very difficult transfer, but it's the transfer that might be possible if pressure is going to be put by both Tormans and Sweeck maybe, and then I think for cyclocross in general, it's going to be a little bit more fun because then we have Tormans, who is going to be very strong next to Trek, Lions, and Paul Sauze.
Ton, what do you think? We have then the Mette Penningen, as Issam said, really talking about. He also tweeted, it's very easy. Sweeck has a contract until the end of 2022 at Paul Sauze Bingoal cyclocross team. End of the speculation. Do you think that this is clearly true, end of speculation, or do you think that this is just a cover-up and that Sweeck really does want to leave? And if he does want to leave, do you think that Tormans should actually keep him? Because if you're having a rider in your team who isn't motivated to ride for your team, does that really benefit you?
I think that as Mette Penningen, you're going to try and deny everything, even if it just puts you in a slightly stronger negotiation position. There's always a price for everything, especially in a world where finances aren't as great as in cyclocross. So I think that is just him getting to try him getting a few extra euros out of Tormans, or at least trying to. I think Sweeck can make things very uncomfortable, especially over the summer when you are really training with your team, going for a training camp, and I think we'll see things unfold, and we'll know very quickly how it's gonna go if he is leaving, I think, because that could become a very public thing.
Mette Penning is also saying end of speculation, saying that this is speculation. But how much speculation is it if the boss of the Tormans team is saying on national TV, I have spoken with Sweeck and I have spoken with Mette Penningen, and we are looking for a way in the middle which benefits both sides? How much speculation is it then?
I don't think the speculation it isn't speculation, because the boss of Tormans was talking about it. Mette Penningen confirmed that there were talks, but in a way that is not going to happen anyways, because he has that contract till 2022. But I think what Mette Penningen is doing here, he's a smart guy. He knows how the money is going to be, and he knows how contracts are going, and he knows that there is always a way to pay up forward, or to pay that contract for Sweeck to then bring him in earlier. I think he's putting just a little bit more pressure on Tormans in a way to see if they are willing to pay a little bit more. Because I think the relationship in the team within, with Sweeck, Iserbeet, and Van Torenhout is just not good enough at this point. So he might benefit more with the money coming in, to pay maybe for someone else, to maybe upgrade the salary or of a Ronhaar or a Kamp, instead of keeping Sweeck and having the issues.
About those issues, I mean, it is for us pretty clear what those issues are. Iserbeet and Sweeck, and in a less extent Van Toornout. From the top of my head, the last time that they really had problems with each other was, of course, that last Super Prestige race where Iserbeet got third after Van Toornout and Sweeck basically needed to stand still and wait for them, for Iserbeet that is. And of course, we also had Iserbeet not playing the best teammate in Sint-Niklaas, closing the gap to Sweeck when Sweeck was up front alone. These things are struggles, and they've been there for a bit longer. I also remember in Diegem, that must have been then the end of 2019, when I think it was Iserbeet saying then, oh, Sweeck paced here, otherwise I wouldn't have dropped. It was something along the lines there. It just doesn't seem to be working between those two guys. So if I were to give my opinion, I think it would be smart for Mette Penningen, especially because he can get some extra money here, which he could invest in the team, to let that contract of Sweeck being bought off, and then try and invest that money in either young talent or in another rider.
I think this becomes especially important with Van Torenhout seemingly picking a side as well, the side of Iserbeet. He has been the model teammate, I think, at Paulshausen for years now, and it really seems like it's becoming a 2v1 situation there. So I think for Mette Penningen, it's just get that money and just be happy and have some nice team chemistry next season, instead of a fractured one, which people can keep talking about.
So now we'll go and talk on about a potential new location for the European Championship Cyclocross in 2023 or 2024. And joining me to do that is Tom.
Hello.
Thank you for coming on, Tom, and Issam is here as well, and Twan will be staying here as well for the next round. But it is a new race in Spain, or a new race. Pontevedra has said that they are going to make a bid for the 2023 or 2024 European Championship Cyclocross. Issam, what do you think about that?
Well, I think personally that is good. I mean, I have been saying quite a few times that the sport needs to be going a little bit more international. I think that they have already had some experience organizing races. They have done the Spanish Championship, For the people that don't know where Pontevedra lies, it's northwest of Spain in Galicia, the region at least of Galicia, and it's actually close to the sea. It's a very nice environment what you have there, and the race as well is very nice. I mean, especially if it rains, it becomes very hard to go through it. A lot of running sections, also technical parts, and I think it has everything in a way to the potential to be a very good race. And I think for European Championships, I think it's well up there to be able to organize such an event.
Yeah, some cheeky off-cameras in that parkour as well. What are your thoughts on a potential European Championship in Spain, Tom?
Yeah, I think it could be really interesting. I think it's good for the sport, a bit more international. We've really seen the rise of Felipe Orts over the last few years, and I think it's been great for Spanish cyclocross to have someone up in the top 10. And yeah, I think it's really good to see they're keen to invest in hosting these races, so I'm hopeful it will go ahead.
I personally think that this is the perfect parkour for a European Championship, because if you look at the European Championships, let's be honest, we haven't had the greatest parcourses. I know Namur is making a bid for 2022, and that is a great parkour, but parcourses like Rosmalen, Civelle, Huiberg, Tabor isn't particularly great in this time of season of the European Championships. This isn't a great parkour either. It isn't at the top 10 parcourses, but if you look at it, it's a very nice parkour. It has a lot of everything, and that's why I think it would perfectly fit in the European Championships list of venues. And it would, I think, if you compare it to a couple of Belgian races, it has a bit of everything. It has some parts where it looks like you're in the forest of Merksplas. It has some parts where it looks like you are in Kruibeke. It is kind of a parkour that you could see back in an Etias cross, and I think that therefore it would fit in the European Championships. However, they're also saying that they dream of a World Championship, but I personally think that is maybe a bit too high with the current parkour that they have there.
Yeah, I have to agree that it's at this moment, at the state of the parkour what it is now, it's going to be a little bit difficult to already think about World Championships. I think for European Championships would be a great start to test the parkour, test the organization, see if it's all going well, if the facilities are there, and if there is some animo for the whole event, and financially of course. But I think if you want to organize a world championship, you should at least try to be on a level of a World Cup, and then from there on, see if the riders like it, improve the parkour, and then think about the world championships. And for the European championships, I don't think it would be bad to try it out, see what happens, and if we like it, we keep it in. If it's not really a good parkour, they have to change and improve, and if then everything is all right, then you keep it, try to put it in the World Cups and see what comes out.
Yeah, I think it's just lacking that key feature really for a World Championship level course. We've seen in previous years either the location, like in Bogens, or a really big course feature, like in Valkenburg. You have kind of the big hill and the climb with the descent. And yeah, I think we've seen the likes of Dubendorf hosting the World Champs. Perhaps it was not one of the better venues, and I think this could be in a similar category to that in terms of a basic parkour. And yeah, I think they need to kind of have something a bit more to offer in order to be really put themselves as a World Championship contender.
Well, I do think that it is lacking a bit, but on the other hand, it would be really nice to see a World Championship back in Spain. I mean, the last time that there was one, it was in 1990 in Getxo. And I mean, there was a Van der Poel on the podium, but it was Adrie, and I think that says it all. It's now his son who is dominating cyclocross. Adrie van der Poel coming second there behind other Dutch rider Henk Baars, by the way. But I think it would be nice to see Spain getting that World Championship again, because the sport is growing, and it is growing. Yeah, it's growing because they have Orts now. But if you look at the local races in Spain, there's always a lot of spectators and also a lot of riders participating.
Indeed, like I said, I think Orts has had a great effect on Spanish cyclocross, and yeah, I'd really like to see it come to Pontevedra, and for it to host the European Championships would be great.
Well, we'll wait and see. And by the way, there hasn't been announced any location for the European Championships this season in 2021. So that is a first step that needs to be made by the UEC. And probably somewhere next year we'll know if we will have a European Championship in Pontevedra. Well, then we can go on to talk about our final talking point here today, the new World Cup calendar. And we won't be going into depth about the calendar yet, we'll do that a bit later on. But we'll be talking about the 2 slots that are currently to be confirmed. Tom, do you have any idea of which of those slots, which races have been trying to get those spots?
Yeah, well, at first thought, Dublin was one of the kind of possibilities, I think. Having been promised around this year after having to cancel last year, but it was a bit of a surprise to see them off the calendar, I think. But there don't seem to have been any developments there, and I think the health situation and organiser situation doesn't seem super keen on racing there this year, which is a shame. So I think it may be a bit longer before we get our first UCI World Cup in Dublin. There's been some rumours about Germany, perhaps Munich, and I think that could be a strong possibility. A round in Germany would be really nice. Munich have expressed some interest before, and they've got some good sponsors there. But it was seemingly the Flanders Classics saying they were unable to attend the venues of the potential other candidates, and Germany have had some quite strict rules recently on their travel as well, so that could be a possibility there, I think.
Well, I think that we should be looking outside of the countries that currently already have been assigned a World Cup, so then Germany comes up as a strong contender. But I also think you should be looking at Switzerland. I mean, it's not going to be in France. They already said they turned down offers from other races in France. They have 2 races in France. They have 2 races in the Netherlands. They have a bunch of races in Belgium. They don't have a race in Germany. They don't have a race in England. They don't have a race in Switzerland. I think that those are mainly the regions you should be looking into. Perhaps that there is going to be a race in Spain or, of course, Italy. But those would need to be, at least from what I know, newer races, because I haven't heard any rumors of current races coming up in Italy or in Spain that want to make that step. I mean, Igora has been a long story that they want to come in, but ultimately I don't see it happening for next season. Anton, if you were just to speculate, where would you want to go?
I think it's just very weird that we don't have a Swiss race on the calendar yet. Especially after last year's attempted snow parkours in the World Cup. I think this is something they should be trying again to make that push toward Olympic Winter Games. And I'm very surprised that isn't on there, so I kind of am expecting it to be within these last 2 spots.
I do hope for a race in Switzerland as well, but at the same time, I think it's very hard to see it happening. I personally believe that the race in Villars near the UCI headquarters, organized by the UCI, was mainly on the calendar because they didn't have enough races who made a bid for that World Cup. I think that to save their effort, they already reduced it by 2 races last year, but to not need to reduce it by even more, despite already having signed contract with Belgian races, that they stepped in themselves and decided to organize there in Switzerland. I don't know if they will be doing that again, but I do agree there should be a Swiss race on the calendar. It could go together with Munich. I do expect a German race. And then for that last slot, I mean, Switzerland is the obvious answer. But at the same time, you never know with the UCI. For all we know, we could be going to a race that pays big money in, where could it be, somewhere in eastern or east of Europe. Hungary has 1 or 2 UCI races. Romania has a couple of them. I mean, Slovakia has a couple of them as well. I currently think that that's unlikely, but with the UCI, you just never know.
Indeed, I think just to throw in one more to the mix, the Shenzhen Trophy in China have or previously rumoured to have expressed some interest in the World Cup, and I was expecting to see those races on my calendar at the start of this year in September. So obviously, travelling to China to check out the course at the moment certainly wouldn't really be possible, being outside of Europe. So just as a real outsider, you never know, but we could be looking at a kind of special round in China as well.
I think those races definitely have money, but it's hard to see those races being put in the middle of the season, because it would just be very hard in terms of traveling. I've also heard that in Melbourne there is a cyclocross race that wants to come on the world calendar, but I think that isn't happening either. 1, because of the slots that have been assigned now, and 2, because at the moment I think China and Australia, they're serious options in the future, but I think it needs to be like in 3 or 4 years time, when, fingers crossed, the World Cup has developed a bit more, when there's a bit more money going on, that the teams can afford to go there, basically that the organizers there have enough money to pay these people to come there, because it's very expensive to fly all the way to China and Australia just for 1 or 2 cyclocross races. Anyway, to conclude what I have said, I think personally that the most likely possibilities here are then Germany, Italy, and Switzerland. I would like to hear what you guys think about that as well before we end off this episode.
Yep, I would agree with you on that one. I really think Germany is a strong contender, and probably Switzerland as well. Like you said, I think mainland Europe for this year, keeping it simple, and yeah, Germany, Switzerland for me.
I can only agree with that. They seem like the most logical countries travel-wise as well. Something that is hopefully by then not as important anymore.
Well, then I think if no one here has anything to add, I think we've had it for this episode of the Cyclocross Social podcast.
Indeed, thank you.
Thank you for coming on, Tom, and Twan and Issam as well, of course.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening.
And we'll be back later on with more podcasts during the off-season about cyclocross news, about some races on the road, where we will keep an eye out on the cyclocross riders. We will see you guys then. Goodbye.